Hello and welcome to the Inspiring Women Wales podcast, brought to you by NatWest Cymru and the University of South Wales. I'm Gemma Casey, NatWest Cymru's Ecosystem Manager for Wales. Well, we know that women have fundamentally different experiences to men in business, including facing more barriers around access to finance, disproportionate caring responsibilities, and different levels of access to networks. The pandemic has heightened these barriers, putting pressure on women in business as they rebuild and emerge from the challenges of the past 2 years. With this podcast, we're bringing you the stories of brilliant female founders of Welsh businesses who have faced all of these challenges and more. We aim to bring you stories you can relate to, stories to inspire you and give you the confidence to move forward with your business dreams. With me for this episode is Helen Corsi-Cadmore, coach and business growth specialist. Hi, Helen.
Hi, Gemma.
Lovely to have you with us. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. It's absolutely wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm really excited to chat to you. So I said in the intro there that you're now a coach and business growth specialist, but you have a family background in business, don't you? And you had a career in property before embarking on the venture you're probably best known for, which was bringing Tiger stores to Wales. Can you tell me a little bit about your early journey in the business world?
Yeah, of course. Yes, that is right. I was dragged, I say dragged in the nicest possible way, told to get up by my father at 5 a.m. On a Saturday morning when I was probably about, I was probably about 9 or 10 the first time I went down to Bethlem wholesale market. So my parents had a greengrocer store in Cardiff Central Market, and he got me up one morning and took me down there to really see what the business world was really like. And I remember going down and thinking, I was really tired. I was really young. It was really early. It was a weekend. And I remember him saying to me, don't worry, I'll get you a carton of Ribena after. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Okay, I'll come then. And going down to the market and seeing the sort of the hustle and bustle and the real life behind the scenes of the business made me think, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. It was mainly men then. I remember only seeing maybe 1 or 2 women in the offices upstairs. They were always upstairs out of the way. And it was mainly men that were there trying to sell their produce to the buyers. And it was from then that I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I love this. And I was really, really glad that my dad actually got me up at that early on a Saturday. Looking back at the time, I really wasn't. But looking back, I was like, that actually got me in a position of thinking, this is amazing. Really, really hard work. And I watched my dad work 6 days a week. He was up at 5 and he didn't finish till much later in the day. So it was long hours. But I got the excitement, I guess, from watching him work really hard but have a successful business. And it was a greengrocer's, it's not a multi-million pound business, but it put enough food on our table for us and our family. So that was really the beginning. I worked on that market store for them for about 10 years. And I remember seeing lots of regular customers coming into the market. And it's, again, only looking back now, realising that how loyal those customers were and how important it was to build the relationships with those people. And I think for me, it was those conversations and those relationships that I had with those customers that made me absolutely love talking to people and having that customer service and understanding just how fantastic relationships are, and that people come back and be those loyal customers and come back and buy produce and with you. So that was sort of the greengrocers. And so my property career then, funny story, I finished university. I did an international business management degree with retail, just about sort of scraped through that, if I'm honest. Had a really good time. And then I finished that and decided that I was going to go traveling. I wanted to go and see the world. And I went off for about 2 years, lived in Australia for a little while as well. And I came back and I was like, oh God, I need to get a job now. I don't really know what I want to do. Still at that, age where I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I was really interested in opening up a coffee shop. When I lived in Australia for a while, I used to go to lots of sort of cool coffee shops, and I was like, oh, I love the relationship building that I had with people and conversations. Anyway, I came back and I kind of fell into my property career. I ended up being there for 9 years, or just under 9 years. Opened up 3 successful branches across Wales, and I looked after a large portfolio of clients, probably anywhere from about 300 upwards at any one time. So lots of relationship building there as well. So for me, I think the businesses that I've worked in or had myself have always been about customers and the customer service and how important it is to build relationships. So that's what I was doing for a while, actually.
So a really successful career in property in your 20s.
Yeah.
How did the tiger adventure start? That's quite a leap of faith.
Yeah, it was. And I got to that point in my property career that I could sort of do my job with my eyes closed. I knew it was time to move on. And I actually met my business partner at the time through my now husband. So I did have a business partner, Kate, and we looked to open up a coffee shop together, and we got gazumped on a unit. And she said to me, I've got this idea. I've got this idea of this brand that I've seen called Tiger. Do you want to come and have a look at it? Anyway, off we went, had a look at this brand, and I was like, I'm really not sure. Anyway, to cut a very long story short, then we decided to go for it. We decided to take the leap of faith. We needed to get quite a bit of funding to start the business, and I'd say I wasn't sure when I saw the brand and realised what it could bring to me as a person. So I actually fell in love with the brand. I absolutely loved it, and what it could bring to Wales as well. How many jobs we could create, how many stores we could open. I just thought, yeah, actually, this is definitely for me. So we just went for it. It was a joint venture partnership. So just to explain that in brief, it's when sort of 2 companies come together, if you're not aware, and we created a limited company. So we had business partners in Denmark as well. So there was more than just me, and there was a few of us, but ultimately we had full control of our business in the UK.
And this was the first time that Tiger had come to Wales.
That's right, yeah.
So you started with 1 store in Cardiff?
Yeah, we opened, that's right, yeah, in St David's. We opened our first store in the December 2013. That's like a lifetime ago, 2013. And yeah, that's right. So we grew that business then to open 9 stores across Wales and Bristol. But Cardiff was our first store. It's still there now. We actually knocked 2 stores together. So it was originally 2 separate units. We had builders in and created a larger store.
Amazing. So 9 stores by the time you finished with your Tiger adventure. How many jobs were created? Because you mentioned that was one of the drivers for you deciding to do it. Yeah. How many jobs did you manage to create?
Throughout the time, it was over about 175 across the region. Yeah. Obviously, there was times when we had more with Christmas, peak times of the year. And the fact that the interesting thing that I love about some of the employees that we employed, some of them started as Saturday part-time staff and then went on to be, our store managers in our biggest store in our portfolio. So it was amazing for me to see that journey as well with the team. It was brilliant. And I'm still really, really close to some of the people that work for us now. So still got good relationships.
Well, relationships again, exactly. I was just about to say, so you started off talking about the relationships, at Bessemer Road Market when you were going to the wholesale fruit and veg market and the relationships on the fruit and veg stall. And then the relationships among the team you created as well. I'm really keen to pick up on something you talked about there. You mentioned that you needed finance to get this off the ground. That's no mean feat to go for a brand that's unknown in Wales and launch your first store in St David's, prime location in the centre of Cardiff. NatWest has carried out the Rose Review into female entrepreneurship. It first came out 3 years ago, and we've done annual reviews ever since. And one of the main challenges that highlights as facing women in business is a challenge around access to finance. You alluded to it there. Tell us a little bit about the journey with finance and funding. I mean, starting a venture like that can't come cheap.
No, it wasn't. We needed a substantial amount of money because we need to do the fit out for the store, buy all the produce, build a team as well. So there was a lot that was needed up front. And in all honesty, the journey to get that finance was very challenging. We actually got refused funding from a number of high street banks. At the time, Business Wales couldn't help us at the time. We were then very fortunate to link in with Ken Poole from Economic Development at Cardiff Council. And he was a really big advocate for women in business. And we went through our business plan with him, quite a few meetings, and he was able to loan us some of the money we needed. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. We got over that first hurdle. And the second sort of tranche of money that we needed was a substantial amount of money. It was I'll tell you, it's £50,000 that we needed, and we didn't have that kind of money. I didn't have 50 grand just sitting in my bank, unfortunately. But being a strong woman and businesswoman, I just didn't take no for an answer. We were determined to get that money. Going back to my property career, there was a gentleman there. I won't say his name, but there was a gentleman there that I let a property to him, and we had built up a business relationship. And it was previous to Tiger. It was about, I'd say, at least sort of 5 years before. And moved into property, didn't see him again. That was it. And he turned up for the bank meeting, and both kind of said, I know you, how are you? And again, to cut a bit of a long story short, he was adamant that he was going to help me, and that was because of the relationship that we'd had in my property career. So I always say to people that you might not need those people right now, but who knows when you're going to need them in the future. So it's just really important to be nice to people, I think, as well. Yeah,
absolutely. So. And what you've said there about relationships and helping each other out and that kind of thing, I'm really keen to explore with you as well. So there was you and your business partner, Kate, launching this business from scratch, albeit it's an established brand, and you've got support from the other side of the business. But a massive task for you and Kate to launch this and run this. What kind of support network did you have? What kind of support network did you build around yourselves during that time?
So initially we had none. There was nothing that we were aware of like there is now. There's, NatWest do lots of fantastic things, and lots of other companies as well. And there was no real support back then that we were able to get access to. Like I said, a lot of people weren't interested. We were just seen as, in all honesty, two women just trying to open a little shop. That's what we were seen as. So from a sort of business point of view, not much support. We had a fantastic accountant. He was, again, an amazing advocate, and he was with us throughout the whole of the journey. And we relied on our own network, our friends and our family. So on our opening day, we both had, between us, probably 15 of our friends and family helping us get the store open. Yeah, so that there was not much from a business perspective. The bank were very, very helpful. But in all honesty, there wasn't much. There really wasn't. It was us winging it a lot of the time, in all honesty, just seeing, and mistakes happen. And if things fail, and that's okay. We learned that if you fail, it's okay, but just fail fast and move on, and you learn from it. And we failed a lot on that journey as well. We made a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. So yeah, it was an interesting time from a support point of view.
It's some interesting points you raised there. And you mentioned NatWest support. So one of the flagship things that NatWest does is our accelerator program for to support growth businesses. Mm-hmm. And you're right, community and networks are really at the heart of that. And we see the cohorts that come onto that fully funded program for 6 months support form really strong communities amongst themselves and offer peer-to-peer support. University of South Wales have lots of schemes as well. They've recently run Developing Entrepreneurial Women to help women to start out in business and have a support network. And USW Exchange supports SMEs in lots of ways as well. This support network is so vital, isn't it? And absolutely. I think I'm really interested in what you touched on there as well about what happens when things do go wrong. And that's inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, we'll talk in a second about your caring responsibilities now as well. But what would your message be to somebody listening to this who is thinking of starting a business or is running a business? It's a very solitary life, isn't it? Being an entrepreneur, being a business person. How do you make sure you've got that safety net? Because something will go wrong one day, minor or major, but there are times when you need somebody.
Absolutely. And the one thing I would say is don't feel that it's wrong to ask for that support. If you don't ask for support, you will potentially just get yourself into this deep, dark hole. And like I said, now there's so much support out there. Another thing I would say as well is I wish that coaches at the time were more accessible as well. Obviously, I am a coach now, but to have a business coach that you can bounce those ideas off, and actually they make you accountable for your tasks as well, that's really, really important. And like I said, things are going to go wrong. That's life. We're only human. So it's just how you pick yourself up and get back out there and, pull your socks up and learn from those things that are going to go wrong. Like you said, they are inevitable. It's life. So yeah, just fail fast or learn fast from it and just move on.
Absolutely. And you mentioned there about coaches. So again, another central part to the NatWest Accelerator program is having a coach, so that we basically say that we hold a mirror up to the business person. But you are a coach. So how did that come about? You exited from Tiger. Why did the exit happen? And why did you decide to become a coach?
So we exited the business in 2018. We turned over around 6 million. Like I said, we'd opened nine stores. And it was always our strategy to sort of leave after about 3 to 5 years. And that it was just the time was right. And in all honesty, I'm glad that we exited then rather than being in the pandemic with that store. I'm going to be honest there. I exited in the December 2018. And then I took some time out, was doing some freelance sort of consulting work. And another part of my journey is I've got 2-year-old, well, they're turning 2 next week, twins. And I've been on a bit of a fertility journey throughout the last sort of 6 years. And it was only really when I took that exit from Tiger that I was fully allowing myself to focus on starting a family again. And I won't go into my fertility journey here, wrong space. However, my girls were born a week before the pandemic. And I've got twins. So you can imagine, first time having twins, pandemic hit, no support, lack of sleep and all of that comes with being a parent. And I really wanted to be able to work flexibly around my family. I wanted to have a work-life balance that allowed me to be able to take them to nursery and come back and work for myself and allow me to have my time for my business and around my children. So, and the coaching came, like I said, I love talking to people, I love helping people, I love supporting people. And I love making people accountable to things as well. I'm a very nice person, but I do also, if you write something in my book, I'll make you accountable for it. And yeah, that's it really. My knowledge and experience throughout my career, I want to be able to give that back to people, and they can learn from my mistakes and make their own mistakes, but hopefully don't make the ones that I made.
You mentioned there, a mum of twins, that must be incredibly busy. And as you said, the twins arriving just before the pandemic, so such a difficult time as well. So a fairly young coaching business, very young twins. How do you manage a work-life balance? Do you have really strong boundaries, and how do you hold yourself accountable to those boundaries?
So I absolutely have to have boundaries. If I didn't, then I wouldn't have my business. I have to have those boundaries. And don't get me wrong, sometimes, those boundaries do sort of flex, and you have to be flexible. And I make sure I'm present when I'm working on my business. I make sure I'm present, and I'm with my family. I make sure I'm present. And I also have a coach. That can make me accountable. And I have a really, really good support network now, a business support network that I can lean into and, ask those silly questions. When you work for yourself, it is quite lonely. You're sat in your office, like I'm in my office, and, you're listening to your music or trying to do some work. And sometimes you do need that connection and that interaction with somebody. So for me, it's definitely boundary based, and I do something that's called time blocking. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but I set certain tasks in certain times and stick to those. That really helps me.
Yeah, that's a new skill that I've learned quite recently, and after sort of 24 years or whatever it is of working, is quite a revelation. But absolutely. Yeah. But it definitely helps, especially as you say, when you're trying to balance home life as well, and you absolutely have to finish at a certain time or whatever. It's really good, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I'm really interested in finding out a little bit about some of the tools and techniques that you've learned in your journey to becoming a coach. Are there any sort of tricks and tips that you can pass on where if someone is feeling overwhelmed or struggling to manage that work-life balance, are there any tools that you use when you're in that place?
Yeah, well, the one I just mentioned, so time blocking is a really, really good one. So that if I've got a task to do, I will set, normally for me, my patience is about 45 minutes. So I set my task about 45 minutes. I remove my phone from my eyesight, and I put a timer. This is how I do it. I put a timer on at 45 minutes, and I've got dedicated 45 minutes to look at that task. That really helps me get the stuff done that needs to be done. And one thing for overwhelm or anxiety, really important for me, is getting outdoors. So I make sure that I walk at least once a day. I've got a dog as well, so that helps, but I get outdoors at least once a day, whatever the weather. If it's tipping down with rain, if it's snowing, if it's sun, whatever, I get outdoors. And I make sure I have, the obvious one is screen time away. And another good tip is what I call comparatinitis. So when you start comparing yourself to everyone else around you, you then look and think, oh, they're doing better than me, or I should be doing this. And it's just really important to focus on yourself, because actually you don't know what that other person is really doing in the background. You see them on social media, or wherever you see them out and about if you're networking, but really, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So focus on yourself is really, really important. And another good one as well is writing a joy list or a happy list. So like a top 10, top 20 is the best, but top 10. And anything that makes you feel happy or brings you joy, like little things like getting out for a walk or playing your favourite music. And if you are feeling a bit overwhelmed, tap into that joy list once a day, and try and do 3 things on there that make you smile. And that really helps me. So they're just, a couple of things, really, really easy ones.
I love that idea, Helen. That's definitely something I'm going to give a go to. You spoke briefly earlier about the journey you went on with your fertility before having your beautiful girls. And I know that along with that came various health struggles for you. Yeah. You talked there about how you keep yourself healthy now with physical activity, but also activity to aid with mental health. Yeah. Would you say your approach to looking after Helen, is different now than it was maybe when you were running Tiger, maybe when you were in property?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so different now. And it's taken me a long time to get here, in all honesty. And your priorities change as well as life changes. But the one thing I would say is you've got to look after you first before anyone. And it's not being selfish, because if you're not looking after yourself, then, your business is going to suffer, your family may suffer. It's the whole thing of putting your oxygen mask on first, isn't it? Making sure that you're okay. I think definitely now. And I was probably a lot younger then, a little bit more naive as well, going back in my 20s. Not that I'm old now, mind, I'm only 40, but just throw that in there.
That's very young.
It is, yes, thank you.
It
is. As you get a bit older, you do have to take a bit more care of yourself than you did when you were younger. Really important to look after you. You are the most important person in this world. So that's what I try and focus on every day as well.
And nearly out of time, but I'm really keen to ask you, if someone's listening to this and they're thinking about taking the plunge, or they're on their business journey, what would your one message be to that person who's wondering about taking the next step?
Just start. Absolutely, just start. If I can run a successful business in many different industries, then anyone can. I would just say, just start. And it's that age-old saying, isn't it? What's the worst that can happen? Who knows? But if you reframe that and think, what amazing things could happen, that's what I would say. Just absolutely start. It's exciting.
Helen, thank you so much. I'm off to write my joy list.
Oh, good. But let me know what they are.
I will. Thank you so much for being my guest today, and thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear further episodes of Inspiring Women Wales, then please subscribe. To find out more about this podcast and how USW Exchange can connect your organisation to the skills, expertise and facilities of the University of South Wales, visit southwales.ac.uk/business. And for more on NatWest support for small businesses, search NatWest Business Services.